right. A little over 5 minutes, I know, but again, my name's Timothy Bradford. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thanks to the Norman Public Library for this amazing venue. Fantastic place to read. And a big thanks to the Mark Allen Everett Poetry Series for helping us put on this event with publicity and also providing food. I'm part of the expository writing program at the University of Oklahoma, and I also work with the volunteers that go to the Joseph Harp Correctional Center and work with the Writers Guild, and I also work with Mark Allen Everett. So I have all these connections here tonight, and it's a lovely group of people. So I want to start by just mentioning that I am taping the program by the request of the Writers Guild. They wanted to see what was happening tonight. And so I have the recording going, and hopefully they're going to share this with them at some point. They were hoping to get us some audio video that we were going to project somewhere. I'm not even sure how that would have happened, but it didn't work out. There's a lot of complications with getting things like that in and out of correctional centers, and we tried our hardest, and it just didn't pan out. But we are probably going to do some more readings for this anthology in Oklahoma City, perhaps one we've talked about in Guthrie and Langston, maybe in Stillwater. So, it's just, essentially the official publication date was fall, but we kind of take the real publication date as really kind of the reading that we did on December 6th in 2019 inside Joseph Harp Correctional Center, and we have several people that joined us for that. And it was an incredible evening, really wonderful evening. They really enjoyed meeting outside poets and writers, and we had a great exchange. And that was kind of the first official reading, and now this is the first official reading outside of Joseph Harp Correctional Center. So, I had some stuff printed out about the situation with incarceration and the whole prison system in America, but I think I'll skip it. You can look it up. What I would recommend if you want to really learn about the issues in Oklahoma, oklahomapolicy.org is a great place to go, and they have a project called Open Justice Oklahoma that tracks a lot of the incarceration rates and so on. It's really, really well done. I will say just maybe one thing, that in order to reach the national average, despite the 4% drop over the last year, in order to reach the national average, Oklahoma would need to reduce its total incarceration population of 39,000 to about 23,000, a change of about 15,000 people, or minus 40%. Or you could take the stance of Angela Davis and just say, let's do it with all prisons. They don't really serve the benefit society. So a lot of ideas and thoughts out there. But tonight we really want to focus on the work and these 11 individuals in this anthology. And so I'm just going to jump right in and read the acknowledgements, and then I'm going to read a little bit of work by one of the authors. So here we go. One more thing. No, two more things. We have copies of the anthology for sale up here in the front. And we have a card reader, or we can take cash. So after the reading, we'll be hanging out if you're interested in getting a copy. And the other thing, everyone who's reading tonight, just to let you know, I'll just introduce your name, and you can come up and share whatever you want about yourself. I'm not going to give you a bio or anything, and we'll just run it like that. So, acknowledgements for the Emergence. No work would be finished or legitimate without first giving honor to whom it is due. The Writers Guild was established in March 2016 by a handful of inmates, some of whom remain active members. In October 2017, author and executive director of Oklahoma Message Project Sherry Fuller introduced University of Oklahoma professors Michelle Iodice, Nick Lilordo, Catherine Mintler, and Rachel Jackson to the Guild, who took an immediate liking to them. Other professors have since joined the ranks. These men and women dedicate countless hours and dollars in support of us and our vision. They have taught and mentored, encouraged and criticized with love and compassion. We are an extremely diverse group of men, as you will see in the following pages, all with our own talents and baggage. But these volunteers embrace us as artists, writers, and most importantly, human beings. To them, we are eternally grateful. The Emergence is but a small glimpse, a primary glance at the depth and breadth of the men contained in its covers. We are passion, we are timidity, we are courage, we are hilarity, we are smooth operators pinning fibs filled with verity. We are oxymorons and quintessential examples. We are more than a handful. Gird up your loins and prepare for mental insurgence. Now presenting the Emergence. So, I'm going to read. I think Luke was one of the big authors behind that piece. So I'm going to read. That was kind of a group effort. I'm going to read part of a piece by Shonak Lokuson, and this is his bio. As a disciple of Loki, I've strived to perpetually build and refine my talent with words, both spoken and written. As the world slowly descends into chaos, I relish the moments of peace and serenity when pen meets paper. My writings tend to reflect my faith, and my faith is strengthened by my writing. I am a heathen in a day and age when we have been forgotten. I stand alone in the crowd and shout to the gods, "We are here." The piece is titled, Musings of a Heretic. What is evil? Webster defines evil as morally corrupt. Moral is defined as conforming to a standard of right behavior sanctioned by or operative on one's conscience or ethical judgment. So if evil is to be morally corrupt, and morals are based upon personal conscience and ethics, then the only way a person can be evil is to be judged by someone else's standard. So essentially, if what you do is different from what I do, and what you say is different from what I say, then you're evil. But no one ever realizes that. Because of this, evil is a mirror. Heresy, a face of evil. I've been called evil by more people than I care to admit. But over time, that has begged the question, what makes me evil? Is it because I follow the ancient religion of my people? What makes me a heretic, and why does the world perceive that as being evil? The word heresy comes from a Greek word that means choice, or a thing chosen. Yet modern people look upon heresy as something evil, something to be despised and avoided. The world looks at a heretic as a rebel or a fool because the meaning of the word has been lost, and people have placed their definition and connotation on the word, neither of which is positive. But when did making your own choice become something to be condemned? It is my opinion that the reason the world reacts so badly to this is the same reason humans fear the dark, fear of the unknown. My name is Shonak Lokuson, and I follow the old gods of the Norse pantheon. Because of this, most of the world views me as a heretic, and most only do so because they've been told that that's just what you do in that situation. Any questioning of the set standard will likely end in you getting labeled heretic as well. In her book, Optimism, Helen Keller says, "The heresy of one age becomes the orthodoxy of the next." Let's take that quotation and look at when Christianity was new. Was it instantly accepted, or were the men and women who spoke out for this religion beaten and killed as heretics? What was once the most hated faith is now one of the most accepted and revered of all religions. Unfortunately, the inverse is true for heathens. What was once a well-known and widely accepted faith is now marked as heretical. 2,000 years ago, I would have been regarded as nothing more than just another Northman. Yet in the modern world of acceptable religions, I am called a heretic. I am Asatru, and I ask you, what do you know about the Asir? Chances are you know nothing. After all, it is understood that the victors of any conflict dictate history. When my people warred with the Christians in the Viking Age, there was more at stake than land and riches, though my ancestors likely didn't understand that. However, when the heathens began losing, the Christians began waging a very different war, one that my people weren't prepared for. They didn't know how to retaliate, or even whether they should. So I'll stop there, and if you want to know the rest of that tale, pick up a copy. Please welcome our next reader is, let's see, I'm juggling a couple things here. Bailey Hoffman, please come on up.
I had the pleasure of attending the first reading, and it felt similar to the work we do in the women's prisons in that I felt honored to be there, to be in a room where you get to experience all of the work that they have put into this beautiful writing. It it was really, really special. So I'm glad to be here tonight. And what I'm going to do is I'll read the pieces that I read that night and then read one of the pieces. So I think a lot in my own writing about the damages of gender, and on both sides of that, right, that there are these stereotypes in place that can be really painful for men as well as women. So one of those things that I think about is when I was writing these poems about my husband, I noticed that he looked beautiful to me, and I'll explain that in a minute, and it struck me that that's not a word we often apply to men, or that's even sort of permitted for men. And I thought of this B.H. Fairchild poem. I'll just read a little bit of that first. It's called Beauty. We are at the Bargello in Florence, and she says, "What are you thinking?" And I say, "Beauty," thinking of how very far we are now from the machine shop and the dry fields of Kansas, the treeless horizons of slate skies, and the muted passions of roughnecks, and Scrabble farmers drunk and romantic enough to weep more or less silently at the darkened end of the bar out of what else? Loneliness, meaning the ache of thwarted desire, of, in a word, beauty, or rather its absence. And it occurs to me again that no male member of my family has ever used this word in my hearing or anyone else's except in reference, perhaps, to a new pickup or dead deer. So, my poems, my husband has some bad long-term physical pain related to a back injury, and so he was doing this physical therapy thing at home, and I can't ever quite emulate it, but he had to kind of do this for a long time at the table. And I looked at him, I ended up taking a picture he didn't even know I took at the moment, because he just looked he looked like a Renaissance painting. He looked so beautiful. So I wrote 2 poems about that. A picture of David doing physical therapy, number 1. Pile palms on a table. Let the bird of them rise, wings cupped to gather, like tongues of expectation. Carry soft-petaled birds on the bone of your breast. Let the stem of your neck forget flowers. Be small and gaze up at your mother. Feel the lift of your chin as shut eyes wash calm over the tortured bell of your body. And the second one is called A Picture of David Doing Physical Therapy, number 2. For weeks, in evenings, at kitchen tables, you practiced how it would feel to be sacred, dancing the still choreography of reclamation, hands rooting your wandering neck to its chest, like the dead might repose if they were half as lovely, or did I mean lonely, and is there really much difference? All art must be God, I stared and thought. How easy it is to forget a man's nakedness. So, sort of in conversation with that, I'm going to read a poem by Dilemma, aka Stroke Game Vicious. And this is his bio. Dilemma is the problem that most artists run into when they find out there's someone else just as skilled. My stroke game vicious stems from a couple of things. One includes a pen and paper with my life in metaphors. The other is for the imagination. I am a dilemma, and my stroke game vicious. So he has a real presence that I'm not going to try to emulate, because that would be not. The piece is worth much more than what I would be able to do, so I'll do my best. It's called Figures. I'm trying to be a better father figure, since I figured my father didn't want to bother with us, was tired of living back and forth without a pot to piss in. I got so used to moving, I can't say it's not addictive. It never was a thought that I would mimic the same footsteps once I looked back, Shoot, my father did it. Still have no idea who he is, though my pops was missing. I made every effort not to be in my pop's position. I felt just like my father. Figures. I didn't see this coming. I feel like I lost the vision. But am I the victim? Nah. And time is ticking. And change was supposed to start with me, but I reside in prison. But now my mind has shifted. I'm thinking outside of the box this time instead of climbing in it. I'll defy the limit and expectations the system said that I couldn't finish. I'm not a number, and I'm not going to succumb to the opposition of me being a person because of a cop's intentions. I'm not going to listen nor make any propositions with no politicians so they can take their loud, malicious gossip with them. I've suffered enough consequences. But how do we get even when the odds against us? Common sense would say stop pretending, like everything is okay when this box we live in is so infected by greed we need amoxicillin. It's funny how violence is not offensive. It's become the norm, like washing dishes or prisons with locks and fences. Hands up, don't shoot, that's what was brought to millions, yet we still can't stop the killing. Whether it's now or back then, there's not a difference from being shot by a cop or lynching. This is the generation my kid's growing up in, and it's not appealing. No need to block the feeling, because they so used to it that it doesn't shock the children. Crazy, isn't it? Figures. And I was going to read another one, but it's a bit long, and I might just say, get the book and check out The Tree and Me by Maurier D. Chandler Sr., a.k.a. Business Inn, a.k.a. Shop Team. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Bailey. Next up is George Lee, and he's actually going to read a poem by Mo.
Hello, how y'all doing today? My name is, y'all doing good? Y'all doing? That's cool. I wasn't expecting to get that enthusiasm. Like he said, my name is George Lee. I work at the University of Oklahoma. When he told me about what they were doing, I thought that I wanted to be a part of it because when I was at the University of Oklahoma, actually both of my parents were incarcerated, and I feel like growing up in the community like mine, I feel like I have a lot of experience with people that are incarcerated. So shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you for, coming in today. Looking forward to what you got. This is from Mo Chandler, a.k.a. Business Inn, a.k.a. Show Tim. He say, my name is Maurier D. Chandler Sr. Writing for me is an art form, and I've experienced. It serves as a means for relief from life challenges. The styles of writing most suited to me are prose and occasionally poetry, especially socially conscious submissions. I hope to reach the reader where they are, just as other writers have reached me. I'm 45 years old and the father of 3 gifted sons and 1 extremely brilliant daughter. They spur my desire to succeed. This is his piece entitled, This Is Not a Song. Freedom is a religion. Freedom is what you make it. Freedom is when your government is ready to take it. Freedom is greedy pockets. Freedom is going to war. Freedom is hogging the money while you're keeping me poor. Freedom is to be beggar. Freedom to stand trial. Freedom is recognized, and freedom ain't freedom for all. Freedom express love. Freedom is such a lot. Freedom for me is subject to multiple shots. Freedom is Freedom is Donald Trump. Freedom is Giuliani. Freedom is when the hollow point is invading your body. Freedom to wear a badge. Freedom to pack a gun. Freedom to kill a 12-year-old somebody's son. Freedom is Flint, Michigan. Yep, it's like that. Freedom is the dirty water flowing out the tap. Freedom is reparations. Freedom is my seed. Freedom is 40 acres so I grow what I need. Freedom is underfunding educations and schools. Freedom is making us look like some goddamn fools. Freedom if you Haitian. Freedom if you out of luck. Freedom is when they see when you're pain and you don't give a fuck. Freedom is politicians. Freedom calling me thug. Freedom is blaming me when your kids on the drugs. Freedom is shooting dope. Freedom is all night. Freedom is an epidemic when the user's white. I say freedom is shooting dope. Freedom is all night. Freedom is an epidemic when the user is white. Freedom is Facebook. Freedom is now live. Freedom is making money off of somebody's life. Freedom is pointing fingers. Freedom is telling lies. Freedom is cover up, but the cameras don't lie. Freedom is building prisons. Freedom is filling them up. Freedom is dirty money when you're getting a cut. Freedom was never equal. Freedom is Jim Crow. Freedom is never justice. It's just who you know. Freedom is executions. Freedom is done wrong. Freedom is when he dead and innocent after all. Freedom is how I breathe. Freedom to protest. Freedom is my child wearing a bulletproof vest. Freedom is a business end. Freedom is who I am. Imprisonment took my body, but they'll never take the man. This is not a song.
Next up, Catherine Mentler.
Hi. In addition to mentoring with my colleagues, the Writers Guild at Joseph Harp, I teach in the expository writing program at the University of Oklahoma. I'm going to read a poem by two different writers, and then I'm going to read a recent poem that I've written that was inspired by this anthology and by these two writers in particular. The first poem is going to be by Luke Anthem Sinclair. This is Luke's bio. My writing is like my life, all over the place. I have poetry and prose, fiction and non. Although I might look like the quintessential suburban white dude, my life and experiences are more akin to the multiracial cacophony of the Western Hemisphere, only the trailer park, hood, barrio version. I write about what moves me, love, faith, and Kaizen, continuous improvement. I am passionate about justice reform and connections with people. I hope my writing makes you cry, smile, and think deeply. You will see unrealized love and political statements. There will be extraordinary life experiences mixed with non-fictional characters as well as poetic descriptions of divine works. Finally, a word of caution. Read slowly. Too much of me too quickly could blow your mind. And this poem is titled, First Glance of Sky. I took my first glance of sky, crystal to ice blue as I took my first gaze through the window. The window, streaked dirty pane crossed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars parallel created to be my impenetrable portal to the heavens. I can see the wind, slowly beckoning and pulling the magnificent marshmallow clouds in an oh so slow race across my gaze. Freedom! No concrete numbers or bars, no keys with screaming faces, just the endless, endless expanse of pasture for the ever-billowing buffalo clouds. Freedom. One day I'll be a cloud, and I'll move with obese slowness across someone else's gaze. But today, I took my first glance of sky. The second piece I'm going to read is by another writer named Kirby Lowe. And here's Kirby's bio. The following collection of thoughts is a journey through the loss of a loved one and the struggle between us and our own inner demons. See, we more often than not ignore the things that shape our lives daily due to the ease that brings us mentally. But truthfully, this is as helpful as attempting to trap sand through a sifter. Suffice it to say, the finer pieces fall through, building a much stronger foundation for our own failure. So if you choose, place yourself in the mind of the traveler. And this poem is titled A Carbon Copied Collective. I yearn to like myself the way others have come to because I acknowledge the qualities within myself that they find admirable. But unbeknownst to them, those exact same traits have been meticulously copied from the prospective father figures I have encountered on my journey. But then again, isn't this something we all do in some way, yet continue to believe this is what creates our uniqueness? Is it how we employ this specific trait? An ability to speak in itself is nothing amazing, yet there is a vast difference between MLK and Hitler. So we are all looking for something that distinguishes us from the rest. And as these ideas are given life, I realize my issues are in reality no different from anyone else's. The difference lies in this overwhelming sense of introspectivity I have been cursed with. So I will continue looking for pieces of people I admire, because I have no issues being a follower of good men, because what are leaders without followers, if not failures? And this piece of my own is called The Turn. Words beckon and I resist their pull, again wary of the double ruse of syllable and sound, plotted, charted, chanted. Before the humming in my throat tremors across my lips and I start to parse their mesmerizing incantation, trace a dimming memory into a color and a shape I can hold in my mind's eye by spelling the spell until it finally spells out and spills out of silence into sound. What I may have heard, or what I think I hear, a faint voice has gone over, away, echoing from afar, yet so far away from breathing, their sudden loss catches in my own throat, sound sucked into silence, swallowed, gone. I cling to an abyss of meaningless hush. A tear dwells, brims, falls, tastes of such loss, I have no word for it. When words again beckon, wary of the double ruse of syllable and sound, I plot, I chart, I twist, I turn away again.
Next up is Nick LaLorda.
I also teach at OU in the expository writing program, and I just wanted to mention a couple of things. First of all, we want to thank our publisher, Mongrel Empire Press, and in particular the Oklahoma State Poet Laureate Janetta Calhoun Mish, whose press it is. And for the 2 years of support that led to this publication, we also want to thank the Writing Center at OU, the Office of Community Engagement at OU, and last but not least, the Edith Kinney Gaylord Expository Writing Program at OU. And I am going to read by an anonymous member of the group who calls himself Anonymous K-Quote. And I'll read a medium-length piece and then a shorter piece. Loan of time. We take it for granted as if we have it just to waste away, as if we had a guarantee yesterday that we'd awake today. It seems we just don't understand it, or we can't grasp just what it really is. We use it like it's ours, but it's not yours or mine, it's really his. We never seem to have enough, yet it's crazy how we let it pass. As a youth, it seems to move slow. Now I'm grown, it seems to move too fast. Everybody gets their share while unaware of the amount we have, but we squander and abuse it, discard it and lose it like it's merely trash. More valuable than cash, and we all know how much we value that. But unlike money, once it's gone, you can't earn more, nor get it back. A fact that most of us hardly take into consideration, given less to the Creator and our best to the creation. Then we wonder why we go through trials and tribulations, because we take it for granted this duration that's been loaned to us forgetting that alone, despite how long, doesn't belong to us, yet we waste it every day on things not beneficial, like selling dope, robbing folks, gang-banging, shooting pistols, preoccupied with superficial, small affairs of this life. 24 hours in a day, we might have said a prayer twice, and I'm just being nice, because most of y'all don't stop to pray at all. No, we'd rather shoot dice, slam dominoes, or play some basketball, chilling with the homies, doing that which only hinders you. Prison gets real lonely when the homies don't remember you. We always say what we intend to do, but never get it done because we think just like today did, tomorrow going to come. You can tell the way we speak, we must think we're in control, like we forgot about the one in whose hand is our soul, the one who sits upon his throne, who said to worship him alone, but we be too caught up to worship him from worshiping our phones. We give the internet and television most of our attention, and so our knowledge of this world outweighs that of our religion. I hear people every day discussing topics that are worthless, and most of these people walk the earth and don't even know their purpose. So we dedicate our lives to our careers and occupations, distracted by the call of the traps and snares of Satan, technology, pornography, adultery and fornication, love of money over God, pride, lies, and intoxication. We succumb to our desires without a pause for contemplation, that if today you were to die, what is your final destination? We'd like to think we'd go to heaven, for hell is not the place to be. But see, we want to go to heaven, but we don't want to pay the fee, because you can't get in for free despite whatever you've been taught. Having faith precedes good deeds, which means to act on what you talk. Some of us don't like the truth because it's proof against our faults. That's why every time I've came, I've brought nutritious food for thought. I could go on and be quite long, but now I'm cautious what I do with mine. I'd advise you do the same and guard the way you use this loan called time. What do you decide to do? I'm not a killer, but survival makes us all do what we have to do. We keep dark secrets in dark, still Allah is aware of all we do. It's funny how one makes look easy that which is complex to you. And pride is hard to swallow, but not because it's hard to chew. Bad deeds? We do so many till our sins amount to quite a few. Good deeds, if we do any, it's not as many as we ought to do. Somewhere I read where someone said, beneath the sun there's nothing new. Today I often wonder if what I read they said was true. It's crazy what someone will do just to get ahead of you. And people that you think you know show you a side you never knew. They say they keep it real, but keep it real is what they hardly do. But speaking it is easier than the action that's required of you. Once time expires, it's too late if you did what you desired to do, for you can't lie to Allah the same way Satan came and lied to you. So get your life on track and don't look back. That's what I'm trying to do. If you went on that path, I hope that path will come in time for you. I say this because I've traveled down that road you're on a time or two. But freedom is the choice for you to do what you decide to do.
Next up, Mr. Washington.
Well, I want to share with everyone in this room that this moment, this time, this event, the people in this room, and all the efforts put into this project, it means a lot to me. It's like a dream coming true, you know, for me. My name is Norman Demetri LaVoy Washington. I am an author in this book. I was incarcerated. I know a lot of these guys in here, in this book, and I love those dudes. They're my brothers, you know. And I'm their brother as well. And I'm just so blessed to be here, to be able to share my poetry, my thoughts, and my life experience with everyone in this room. You know, it's a blessing. It really is. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Nick. Thank everybody. So I'm gonna read self-criticism. Who are you? Do I really know you? Have we met? We share a lot in common, but also we're so opposite. One day, everything is smooth, and we're on the same page. Other days, I get confused because you're in a rage. What's all this anger that you hold? What are you so mad about? Yeah, growing up was kind of rough. I feel you, bro, no doubt. But your kids are doing great. The struggle is over now. They live in a 2-parent home financed by 2 bank accounts. We work for everything we have, even if it's illegal. The lawmakers are lawbreakers. This whole country is evil. Don't think I can't respect the hustle. You have mouths to feed, but know the difference between what you want and what you need. Your mother called the other day. I overheard the call. Couldn't believe my ears. You talk to mama like a dog. That woman raised you the best she could, and she sacrificed. Call her back. Tell her that you're sorry. Man, that wasn't right. Staring dead at you in this mirror, couldn't get more clearer. You won't change, but I sense fear. That made me drop a tear. These second chances are for granted. We can end it here. It's time to let go of the past because the future's near. Man, ain't you tired of watching your back and living reckless? Man, don't you know we could have never made it back home from Texas? The enemy been in your head. Y'all been sharing lust. And she lured you with sex. And she set you up. Man, this ain't living. This ain't life. This is like dying death. I'm talking to you, but you're me. I'm talking to myself. Let go of pride and change your life, at least for your kids. And pray to God in hopes of forgiveness for the shit you did. Okay. My next one is one mistake. One second, one moment. Who knew you could lose so much on account of one mistake? Decisions you made at 18 can cost you at 28. My mother's face doesn't look the same. She's changing with age. Was man made to go roam the earth or sit in a cage? I'm not looking for sympathy, and I'm not singing the blues. If I was, I would be playing the guitar, tapping my shoes. One mistake kept me alive. One mistake created life. One mistake and they gave him life. No mistakes and they saved a life. Problems occur, so no one is perfect. My stomach is hurting. The cabinets are empty, like my mama's purses. Label me a problem child. I'm like my mama's burden. No situation is wasted if you learn from your mistakes. So when we die, do they say we're in a better place? Or are we forgiven through our actions? Or maybe saved by grace? If we repent, is that enough? Who really knows our fate? Adam and Eve ate off the tree. That was our first mistake. Having kids out of wedlock, that was my worst mistake. Legally labeled a minor, manning up to the choices we make. I say we because there's more than me. Plenty of us share the same story. Just some doesn't have a voice to speak. Sometimes we think we know it all. We need elders to teach. Helping hands are in arm's reach. Much love and peace. Woo. Woo.
All right, next up is Kai George.
I've been volunteering with the Writers Guild just for the past 2 times we've gone up there, and so I'm pretty new to this, but it's really been a pleasure to get to be a part of this organization. And so I'll be reading 2 pieces today by 2 different authors. The first one is by Michael Rico Cruz, aka Rich Cross, and I'll read his bio. I was born in Bronx, New York in December of 1970 and raised by an adolescent single mother in the streets between South Central and San Pedro, California. I believe it would be adequate to say I have never met any streets that were kind to my feet. Yet a difficult life hasn't deterred my love of art. Working in multiple media of drawing and painting and utilizing different techniques, I've thrived in the joy of being free to create. My writing is semi-autobiographical, using actual and fictionalized events from life to illustrate a philosophy that demonstrates our apparent physical limits are merely appearance. Generally, my writing tends to betray the ethos that I have continued to live throughout my constant pursuit of spiritual growth. Therefore, the genres of writing I have chosen evolve from an inspiration of the subjects which lend themselves to the creative artery of the heart. As I continue to mature into a writer of great heights, I fly with the seagulls until the world recognizes the words of an eagle. Until then, I am grateful and profoundly humbled by all of the authors who inspire me to climb upon their strong shoulders. All right, and this piece, I can get my sticky notes on, is called On a Journey of What Freedom Means. Freedom. What is freedom? Freedom from these fences, the freedom to laugh, cry, and be sad, or slap your head off when you disrespect me. These are some freedoms I ponder when life behind these bars takes a toll on this mind, because freedom is a journey that spells out fleeting roads and except down our minds. This kind of freedom can build or tear down a man's soul. Therefore, preparation is crucial. So lock it down when unhealthy trash talking comes around. Protect your mind at all times, because that is where the true heart of freedom lives. Complex thinking isn't doing all you can to be set free. Freedom is from the tyranny of echoed thoughts, projected by haunted memories when the darkness of night replaces the restful safety of light. Freedom is valuable, which encourages rebellion when you try to force one's hand. It always has the constant command of a price that warns you. Pursuing selfish freedom requires collateral damage. This concept of this kind of freedom has afforded me to receive or give unmerited favor. It was the freedom of bad behavior that created bad habits. The trails I harmfully blazed weren't upon the legacy I intended to build. Since I realized the deeds of freedom, I finally recognize the awful monuments I have founded in the past. This freedom I speak of has no expiration date. The strength of this mortar lies deep within the recesses of our consciousness. It's the testament everyone carries through this razor wire journey called freedom. On this path, no one escapes the toil of being overlooked. Unfortunately, many still don't know what it took. When will you wipe the mirror and take a fresh look and appreciate that freedom is not hindered by our location? Because the road is covered with endless mental passages that comfort us, like the strength of friendship and loyalty. For joy's greatest companion is freedom in Christ Jesus until the last breath. So what does freedom mean to you? Hopefully, this journey has given you a clue what it means to you before the last breath knows you. All right, and the second piece is by Elsie Hooks Jr., and his bio reads, as a meditationist, my works on loneliness and the imagination highlight the power of feeling alone and the sorrow of what should have been. This is called Life's Equal Opportunity Destroyer. Loneliness is an experience that affects humans equally. It is an invisible predator that is watchful and stealthy. We are encountered by this force at a point of weakness. I met this individual while strolling across the prison facility one day. She just appeared next to me without physical form, but I could sense and feel a presence that was friendly and comfortable. It would become clear later that this was a clever disguise, because my future was in jeopardy of being lost. As we continued on our way, I asked the stranger, "What is your name?" The reply with a sultry voice was loneliness. So I asked her with a curious voice, "Where did you come from?" She said softly, "You summoned me." I then asked, being confused and suspicious, "When and how?" She answered sternly, "You don't remember." "No, I don't," was my answer. Loneliness then said calmly, "The moment you began dwelling on your past failures and their consequences, you got my attention. As you continued doing that, a door in my dimension was opened so that I could enter your dimension. And that's how I showed up, out of nowhere." "I see," was my reply. "But what are your intentions?" was my next question. I could sense loneliness had moved in closer to me, to a whisper-like distance. Then she said sympathetically, "I know you miss the family laughter during holiday meals and at special celebrations. I know you wanted to stand with the family when the newest members of the clan entered the world and when a loved one left it. I know that you deeply regret not being a part of the growing up years of your children's lives, and that you long to experience love with a woman that transcends the physical." My response with an agitated voice was, "What do you want with me?" Loneliness moved to face me, as if in a confrontational posture. With unflinching words, she said, "I came to destroy your future with despair." Her demeanor changed, and now the true intent of her heart was clearly evident. I responded angrily with, "So, you were going to kill my future with despair?" The retort with a curt voice was, "Yes. If you are going to focus on the past, then there's no need for the future." I was then grabbed by tentacle-like arms that had strong suction cups, which encased hypodermic needles. She began injecting an overdose of despair into me. I could not free myself from the arms of loneliness, and like cyanide gas, the lethal effects of despair were squeezing the breath of life from my soul. Somehow, I made it to the cell and fell to my knees in desperation. I cried out to the divine for help. I said, "Please release me from the deadly clutches of loneliness." He answered, "With trust in me, and your future will be far brighter than your darkest past." It was then that the death embrace of loneliness was broken and exchanged for the loving embrace of peace and hope for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Next up, Ebony Gusby.
Good evening, everyone. I had the pleasure, I just can't even describe the experience. It was just an extraordinary experience going to the first reading and just seeing all the talent and just the inspiration that came from everyone. So it's an honor to be here tonight. Okay, the piece I'm sharing from the book is called Road to Reality, and it actually has the bio at the end. And it's in 4 parts. Black folks still dying, police still racist, and the penitentiary is a new form of education. So buckle up, because it's going to be a long ride on this road to reality when hate and hope collide. 'Cause somebody lied to you if they said it's getting better. The sun is shining somewhere, but all I see is stormy weather. And Stormy, well, she never thought she'd get her chance to speak about a hypocrite of a president who's an undercover freak. Come to think of it, his situation really ain't unique. With this hush money, them oligarchs and dead bodies in the street. And speaking of streets, why is it mine got to be infected? Filthy needles connect with black skin with every evil you injected. That includes the ones charged with keeping me protected. I ain't free to take a knee though, but they free to put one off in my neck. And what the heck ever happened to justice and equality for all? Well, they said if you look hard enough, you'll find that at the border wall. And who gonna pay for that, except for each and every one of y'all? So while you at it, come on, pay attention, y'all, 'cause the new way to kill time means killing mine for these cops with black trophies on the walls. They get away, consequence unseen, which means for us there is no justice. Just one more reason for us to distrust the upholders of the law. Even as our people rise, yet another of us fall. And it's us getting chopped like trees. And no matter what it seems, no amount of money can silence a mother's screams. You can call me a skeptic, but in my mind, man, perhaps, it's no coincidence that legislators and all their taxes got you unable to pay your bills. Meanwhile, they vacation and relax. White folk out there screaming how they taking America KKK back. And the only thing Starbucks want in their store is coffee, if it's black. So think about that, black. 'Cause it's you that's in the crosshairs, you that's under attack. Y'all screaming and hollering, protect your neck, son. While I'm teaching my sons to protect their back, that's where the knife's gonna be at. But justice is blind, right? So she ain't gonna see that. It's getting hard for me to breathe at night. I think I need a CPAP, and I really hate to see that. For them, it's coming together kind of like clutch plates. Meanwhile, I'm so hungry for change, man. Feel like I got a clutch plate. And I'm coming to grips with what it is I really hate. So I'm just gonna take a moment, if I may, to elaborate. Really what's bothering me is worse than whites that discriminate. It's that the black skin surrounding black men is what black women is starting to hate. Blackness won't survive that fate. All the while with the crooked smile, it's a plan the white man initiate. Got our women taking the bait. But is success really success when it's yourself you've come to hate? That's why black folks still dying. Part 2. Police still racist, and a penitentiary is a new form of education. So buckle up, 'cause it's gonna be a long ride on this road to reality where hate and hope collide. There's unity and equality, it's ours for the taking, but we refuse to grasp the concept. So we take that knife that's in 9 inches, pull it out a couple, then call it progress. See, I don't agree with a whole lot, and there ain't a whole lot that would agree with me. And ever since I was a young pup, I knew it'd get rough, 'cause there's always a cat trying to feed off a dog's pedigree. My advice? Don't come half-stepping with me. So many rats in this race, I should have invested in cheese. Rappers selling fairy tales, dummies purchasing dreams. And since they like to compare life with chess, tell me, who's ready to murder their king? These suckers turning tricks for females, and bruh, that ain't cool to see. So when T-Lady asks why I sacrificed my queen, if truth be told, I ain't like her making more moves than me. It ain't cool with me. This penitentiary put up fences that turns love into hatred. And since this is chess, I know when I reach the other side, I'll have another one waiting. Currently, I reside in the land of the free, where the price of being human ain't cheap, and justice is steep. The land where minorities are gunned down every week, blatantly refusing our civil rights to be equal. And since ends hanging from trees wasn't politically conducive, they decided to substitute that noose with a needle. So I'm proud to be an American KKK. While I appreciate those who laid down their lives for the freedoms to be had, with that said, obscene gestures to the red, white, and blue, with a middle finger for every star on that flag. Why, some would ask? My reply, black folks still dying. Number 3, police still racist, and a penitentiary is a new form of education. So buckle up, cause it's gonna be a long ride on this road to reality where hate and hope collide. Because we're who they're training against. So of course, I'm offended, and they wonder why we stay in offense, cause we stay in offense. And to get a break depends on the shade of our skin, and they fake and pretend like we making amends when we already know they lying, and wish they'd stay in that den. But then again, in prison accomplishments, y'all admire me to its entirety. Even go as far as inspiring until I enter society, where you start denying me because of the background you entitled me. Now the environment I'm in becomes dangerous. Not for them, but for me, because of how I'm looked at. Then I look back and see the same chains that hood blacks. Well, look at that. Police were supposed to be peacemakers, but instead were peacemakers, with a badge that gave them authority through empty chambers to release anger. And you can't convince me otherwise. It'll be just another lie to undermine what's been undisguised, another form of racism. And want to talk down on us because we on welfare, and I don't think that's welfare, because their neglection of our protection helped us get there. Now we sent into rage because of minimum wage, and the money they claim to be given doesn't even matter when they keep raising our standard of living. I mean, I'm puzzled. That's why I don't try to fit, because it sucks the life out of me. These politics are a pile of ticks, but that's what we get though for trusting their info, because now we got a poverty line and we below it. It look like we trying to limbo, and rich folk breaking necks to see what's breaking next, while we in the projects wondering who gonna break in next. Nah, bro. Police taking bets when they pull us over because of our skin color, so remember, you not white, yet if you were a bit more ghetto, nah, you'd have a dilemma. That's why black folks still dying. Number 4, police still racist, and a penitentiary is a new form of education. So buckle up, cause it's gonna be a long ride on this road to reality where hate and hope collide. Is this what it's meant to be? Rejected from society, struggles and poverty? No one predicted such a prophecy. Since I was conceived, was led to believe that I was free in a country that was based on justice and liberty. But how could this be? When I've been cursed since the beginning, labeled minority by the complexion of my skin, so much oppression we live in, and every day it increased. What's peace? I know they'd rather see me dead in the streets. Jealousy and envy are reasons why, believe it or not. If they don't kill me, then they devise a plot to keep me on lock. Stereotype, label, and judge before it's known what I'm like. A fair trial? Yeah, that's right. Applied only to whites. That's how it is and how it's been. No need to soften the truth. And Trump in office is a nail that seals the coffin of truth. I'm only aloof from politics because I despise politicians. They only speak of good intentions so the people will listen. Meanwhile, conditions for my kind is still the same as they was. Projects and ghettos filled with guns, drugs, gangsters, and thugs. Low-income housing, welfare, and underfunded education results from budget cuts for less important operations. Now, graduation rates for my kind is on the decline, while incarceration rates have risen and continue to climb. We live in a time in which it seems we lived before, a time where it seems we're headed toward another civil war. The hypocrisy of democracy is evil indeed, because the people who seek to lead are not the people we need. Greed and the lust for power, the underlying intent. Republican, Democrat, and even independent, regardless what party wins, watch the pattern unfold. That party's only concerns are its own plans and its goals. So many lost souls and sick hearts, so much corruption and evil, because the laws of men have now become the laws of the people. Destruction and devastation, we ain't fit for legislation. Making laws on top of laws, yet it's the lawbreakers that break them. So, lawmakers that break them. So tell me why I shouldn't hate them? Why not hold a grudge? I can't show love to people who ain't never shown me no love and say what you like, but won't convince me that I'm wrong when I'm right. And we can't get along when you condone what's wrong like it's right. I've never been white, so I can't tell you what it's like to be that. Been black since my birth, and I prefer to be none other than that. And his story's wrong. They make it seem like we've been slaves all along. But if you seek, you'll find that we've been getting played all along. I prayed for so long until I found how I was praying was wrong. And I was fooled into thinking I was saved all along. I know some folks will feel like what I'm saying is wrong. Well, who are they to say what's wrong with what I say in my poem? Freedom of speech, yet I'm still hated for how freely I speak. For fear of who my words might reach and give them freedom to think. When we hear history, mentally grab thoughts from the past, and presently we overlook the current problems we have. If not for the mercy of Allah, ain't no way we could last. Before too long, we will surely be a thing of the past. History. Cause black folks still dying, police still racist, and a penitentiary is a new form of education. So buckle up, cause it's gonna be a long ride on this road to reality where hate and hope collide. To the reader, you have just experienced 4 of JHCC's 8 most gifted spoken word artists. We routinely offer any who feel they have the skills to defeat us an opportunity to step forward. To date, none have. We are not idle minds. We are not stereotypes. We are different races. We are intelligent, rational men. We are not simply entertainers. We are activists. We have a message, and we will not be silent. Part 1. Then Part 2 was from Shannon the Apprehensive. Part 3, Dilemma, aka Stroke Ambitious. And Part 4, Anonymous, a quote. Sorry. I did also have one short piece. Fine. And it's called Chocolate Skin Makes Me Grin. Chocolate skin makes me grin. Chocolate skin is not a sin, not a curse. No, not grounds for another being upon crossing it to suspiciously clutch their purse. Chocolate skin is not darkness lurking in neighborhoods, nor is it prone to be up to no good. Like the vast minerals of the plentiful earth, chocolate skin is richly rooted in hues of precious worth. Many constantly have to defend their chocolate skin. Some feel they simply just can't win in their chocolate skin. People steadily wondering if their chocolate skin is in, like it has to be acceptable or desirable as if some passing trend. But chocolate skin is always in to me. See, chocolate skin be pretty as can be, decadently designed beauty. Yet some have the audacity to challenge chocolate's humanity and mental capacity and lay claim upon it all sorts of negative tendencies. Chocolate skin is not a crime, no, not dirty or grimy, and though some people be as sour as a lime wearing it and oftentimes want to rescind it, chocolate skin got me penning a rhyme about it. Although I shamefully too used to be full of melancholy, feeling stricken, walking in this heavily pigmented sea of melanin, now I'm proudly, loudly basking from within it, saying chocolate skin is so divine and mine, oh mine. And I just want to shout it to society, ain't no doubt about it. America and this whole world would not be as accomplished without the various hued, chocolate skinned women and men.
Next up is Polly Huss.
I was able to attend the reading in December, and as many of the readers have already spoken, it was a truly overwhelming experience. And while there, I got to meet Shannon, one of the poets in the anthology, and I was struck immediately by his vibrancy, his energy, and his raw honesty, which you'll get a taste of here. And we immediately bonded, and so it is my privilege to be able to share with you 2 of my brother's poems. And then at the end of that, I will read a poem I wrote in response. The first is bio. Shannon Hunt, aka Shannon the Apprehensive. A life of foster care, juvenile detention centers, and level E facilities has only shaped me for a life of incarceration. The battle is not prison. The battle is the transition from the secular to the holy. The compilation before you is of struggle and pain and, of course, the ultimate change of mind and will. What was once a hopeless act of survival by way of criminal inventions has now become a hopeful pursuit of the godly by way of self-denial. As a poet, songwriter, and musician, I try to articulate in many ways the struggles of prison life, as well as what it means to be a Christian behind the fence. I express my anger, my explicit thoughts, as well as my praise and frustration. And the first piece I'm going to read to you is called How I Feel. My style is too unique. I hope you haters aren't offended. Vice grip lifestyle, so I'm just trying to keep the tension. Couldn't do it on my own. I keep a selfish ambition. Pride comes before a fall. I'm just trying to keep from tripping. I never knew happiness and joy keep escaping me. Depression isn't pretty, but she the only one who's fading me. I understand in these chains, I'm the only one who's caging me. Been fallen for so long, I'm doubting if Jesus even saving me. Love is a stranger because we were never acquainted. Me and hate are familiar because she was the parent that raised us. Hearing the same thing from family who swear they love me, get my hopes up on Saturday just to fall on Sunday. So sick of men saying that they feel my pain. A heavy dose of kiss my ass in this syringe, trying to kill these veins. I have dynamite for emotion, so don't spark that flame. But nobody wants to take you seriously until they hear that bang. How I feel? If it wasn't for Jesus, I'd probably end my life. I've been through hell from the beginning with no end in sight. I try to make the right turns, but they never turn out right. And just when I think the fear of darkness is gone, they turn out the lights. That's how I feel. And this one's called... This piece is called Piece of Paper. This piece of paper is where I begin my thoughts and end my conclusions. This piece of paper does not judge or criticize, but it does motivate. This piece of paper is still a piece of paper. The only difference is that it's tattooed with my secrets. Secrets such as I wish the whole world explode into a million pieces because mankind is corrupt and evil. Plus, I long for death. I wish I could plant a bomb on the car of every politician and be an eyewitness to each detonation. Lawmakers and lobbyists, I would like to personally disembowel because their regards of the people are zero. Their intentions are those of personal gain. You see, this piece of paper understands me. And even if it doesn't, it sure as hell has a way of making it seem as if it did, which is more than I can say about most people. This piece of paper is still a piece of paper. The only difference is that it knows my fears. Fears such as no matter how good it gets, it's only a matter of time before that good turns ugly, because that's the story of my life. Love is the ultimate fear. Those who are supposed to love me, I care less for as each day passes. This piece of paper, I don't need to love me, only to hear as I vent. This piece of paper assists me in coping with life. This piece of paper is still a piece of paper. The only difference is that it knows my pain. Pain such as me being abandoned and left to rot in DHS, being mistreated in foster homes, abused and emotionally neglected, rejected by society. This piece of paper is where I begin my thoughts and end my conclusions. This piece of paper is still a piece of paper. The only difference is that it's about me and not you. This is a piece I wrote in response to that poem. It's called Paper Thin, for Shannon. There is a piece of paper. Onto this piece of paper, you tattooed your secrets. Words of rage, defiance, fear, and pain. You think your piece of paper is special, and it is. and is uniquely you, and it is. But I wonder about your claim that the difference with your piece of paper is that it is about you and not me. Is that true? I also have filled pieces of paper with words of rage, of defiance, of fear, of pain. Sometimes those words are strikingly similar to the ones you use. Sometimes I read your piece of paper and think it describes me. Sometimes I read your piece of paper and know it is you. Sometimes I read your piece of paper and think it's both of us, simultaneous. So you see, your piece of paper is still a piece of paper, a sliver of tree onto which you begin your thoughts and end your conclusions. But it is also something else, something beautiful and magical. Your piece of paper is a conduit. Through it, I can take your hand, shake it, or hold it as the need requires. Through it, we embrace, reconnected for the first time. Through it, I hear your voice. Through it, we share a world where, despite the constant insertion of barriers and walls and laws and religions and labels and definitions and identities, the distinction between a you and a me is as thin as this piece of paper.
Next up, AJ Tierney.
Hello again. Oh yes, so I came to know the Men in the Writers Guild through, I also work at OU, not in the expository writing program, someplace else. And I connected with Catherine in our daily work, and it just came to be that she volunteers with the Writers Guild, and I had done some volunteer work at Dick Connor Correctional Facility with the men there on the minimum and the medium security sides in their writing programs. Also volunteered with Bailey at Poetic Justice. I'm a Tulsan, transplanted to Norman just in May of last year. So it was wonderful to feel connected in such a way with this type of work. And I say this type of work is really a blessing and it's humbling. My background is very similar to some of the men and women who are incarcerated, and I'm so happy to hear their voice and to ensure that their voice is heard outside of those walls. So I think it's just really important, and I'm so grateful that you all are here to hear their words. So the first piece I chose is by Luke Anthem Sinclair, and his bio's already been read this evening, so I'll just jump into his work. It is titled, Living versus Being Alive. To be alive is to thrive. The spark of life is audacious. This is the thrilling existence of a person submerged in purpose. Living is going through the motions, almost meaningless. It is a thread of life, barely existent, wallowing in purposelessness. Alive is emotion, high, low, roller coaster on the edge of one's seat. Living is drear, hollow, being swept along with the passing winds. When God breathed into Adam's nostrils, Adam became a living soul. He existed. But when Eve came onto the scene, Adam came alive. They named the animals and ruled the garden. Are you alive or just living? John Eldredge, in his book Wild at Heart, says, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is men and women who have come alive. The next piece I'm going to read is from Keith Charisma. I'm going to read his bio. Keith Charisma, author and lecturer, has a devotion to exposing the plight of the families who comprise Black America. A devoted father, He commits to a style of writing that is experiential, comedic, and laced with a reality that his children can relate to and his wider audience can appreciate. He lives in Lexington, Oklahoma, surrounded by a cast of characters who are sometimes portrayed in his work. The piece I'm going to read is called A Conversation with a Tree. A tree will never reach the sun, but that doesn't stop it from trying. I lack the motivation of that tree. I'm not even lying. I've been deceived, manipulated, and fallen victim to myself. I know I should read the Bible, but frankly, that's a book I tend to leave on the shelf. You see, I've always had a hard head, was never one that believed crap had to stink. That hard head led me to a dungeon, isolated misery in every thought that I think. But when you have no man to tell you how to be, trial and error become your father figures permanently. That's why I am so tired. I've bumped my head for far too damn long. I might as well be honest with you. My life is a perpetual Mary J. Blige song. I've asked men to help, but they just stare at me. Guess I'll ask this old, sturdy, lifeless tree. How do you stand in a storm? How do you know when to bloom? Why is your bark so thick? Does it grow through and through? Who planted you in the soil, right where you are? Did you do this yourself, or did you follow a pattern written in the stars? Your leaves have an odd shape, mutation or planned. And what makes you better than me after all? You're a tree and I'm a man. I can cut you down and chop you in pieces. I can break your limbs, at least the ones my height reaches. I can join an army and be all I can be. All you can do is stand here and be a tree. Why don't you say something? Or are you afraid of me? Defend yourself or lose my respect permanently. Oh, I get it. You're the type who doesn't answer what you consider foolishness. Silent, strong, reserved. Well, your silence is disrespectful, so I'll digress. Hey tree, the wind is blowing, duck and hide. And it looks like something is being hurled into your side. Wait a minute. Why are you shedding your green turned brown leaves? And that fragrant emitting, is that from your flowers, tree? Talk to me. Tell me something. A simple man is what I'm trying to be. The source of your strength is still a mystery to me. I discovered a diagram of what I think you're trying to hide. It shows me that you're as tall and strong as you are on top of the ground as on the inside. Your roots run deep and they hold you in place. You're strong and vast, full of potential, time, and space. A plethora of life they bring to you, and they provide the strength you need to bloom. They clutch the earth because theirs and your life depend on the clods. They do all the dirty work while you reach for the stars. The laws of gravity try to keep you from outer space, but your root system supports your ambition. What purpose? What grace? As you reach up, they reach down. You go for the sun, and they chant, "Go for it," from inside the ground. You have a support system of me, roots that support you and help fulfill your destiny. A tree will never reach the sun, but that doesn't stop it from trying. And a strong man I'll be the day I give myself to my dreams and let my roots support me. Thank you.
Final readers, next up, Todd Fuller.
What an honor to be here. thank you, Tim, for asking me, and for the writers who are formerly incarcerated who are here and who've read tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your words. Norman, can I call you Norman? Yeah?
Yes.
Or do you prefer something else? Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Washington. I'm going to read some of your poetry.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you for letting me do that. But I've been sitting here like all night, acting like a teacher, making angry, livid notes all over the place and all over pieces because I'm thinking, Mr. Washington, our poetries are in dialogue, and you're about ready to see that. And has everybody had a chance to read Etheridge Knight? Does everybody know the work of Etheridge Knight, the poet Etheridge Knight? He matters so much in this moment. He is a poet of incarceration who's so powerful. And I'm thinking also of the fact that we write in so many different ways for our lives. For our lives we write in so many different ways. So, I'll begin with Mr. Washington and his words. Man, your enthusiasm was fantastic. I'm a curator at the Western History Collections at the University of Oklahoma, and also an affiliate faculty member in the English department and a faculty mentor in the Red Earth MFA program. I see some Red Earth participants here in the house, yay. Also co-director, along with Tim. I don't know that he mentioned that he's also a co-director of the poetry series, and Craig Hill, who's going to read after me, is also a co-director. And so many hats, but the one, of course, that I wear with the most honor is that I get to hold hands with my wife and my two kids. Can bad men change? Mr. Washington asks. A man who kills will keep killing if he is never caught. The drug addicts die for the high that's such a deadly cost. Prostitutes selling their richly treasures for numbers very low. On top of that, they pay a man who they barely know. Gangbangers only shoot men of their own kind, who taught us how to hate each other so deep inside. Baby mama talk about baby daddy all on Murray. The results come out, the baby isn't his, and she's not sorry. America would rather waste the food than feed the poor. It takes a village to raise a kid. Mama said don't leave the porch. People raping, kidnapping all these innocent kids. They go to prison and get protection. That's how the system is. Police trigger happy to kill a black man just for fun. All they gotta say is, I feared for my life and I thought he had a gun. Why the hell would I have a gun? I'm just a working man. I go to church and cut yards on the side to feed the fam. You call them law enforcement, I call them the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, you was scared not for your life, but for fear of a black man. They got away with murder once, of course. They'll do it again, because a killer never stops killing. That's unless he's caught. Are you sorry for what you did, or sorry you got caught? I did not write this poem after I read his piece, but a few years ago I was leaving work one day, and this poem came to me after yet more news about a black man who had been shot by a white police officer. And so these are to those souls, okay, the soul's past and unfortunately the soul's future that we know about, to the memories of Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Freddie Gray, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Eric Harris, Trevor Martin, Walter Scott, and all the rest. This is called Eyed versus Eyed, an indictment of trigger fingers. I'd glide on concrete, slide along a car seat, ride loudly and beautifully into night, collide with a-holes and otherwise divide our differences into 1,000 communities, not one. Hide below voices in between light, petrified of the cell wall life, so I'd slip from here to my own divisions and genocides. I'd lick life into your thighs one more time. I'd take another swig of Thunderbird just to be heard because it gives you words. Then I'd scream prayers for each of the bullets, skipping like a sunny Sunday afternoon toward my treasure chest. video, mayhem, video, mayhem, mayhem, video, homicide. I say amen, homicide, amen.
Our last speaker tonight, Craig Hill.
So I'm Craig Hill. I teach English education at OU, as the Future Teachers of English. And I want to reiterate what Todd said. It's an honor being a part of this extraordinary reading. It's been an honor to be with those from the the Writing Guild who are here and who aren't here. Our world is richer because of the work you have done. We are more human because of the work you have done. So thank you very, very much. Well, when you hear this poem by Michael Rico Cruz, a.k.a. Rich Cross, you'll know why I picked it. Wonderful hair, the betrayal of my follicles. Hair, oh, where did you go, I wonder? Though the answer escapes me, I begin trying to understand why my follicles have betrayed my skin. I look in the mirror at all the hair and wonder why is it that my face can become a forest with teeth, yet my head looks like something is missing between the trees. God, I wish I thought about that. I wish that was my line. Oh, hair, oh, where did you go? A simple comes to mind. Was it the long days without a wash that now makes my head glow like a freshly applied coat of wax? These are some of the thoughts that come to mind when some of us shave the remaining limbs to make us look even in the end. Then again, there are those who drag it over to one end. Oh, hair, when will you start to grow? Don't you know you have abandoned your post? And that is what I miss the most. Then some of us are so loyal that we wear a hat to show that they do have some to spare. Then there are those who just don't care and let the rest of us witness the mess that you call my wonderful hair. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming out tonight, especially those